This week on the Lokar Car Show, we're in Knoxville, Tennessee for the annual Lokar Open House. We've got a lineup of wonderful cars from all over the country. Folks have shown up to take a look at this state-of-the-art facility and show off their rides. Mike Gifford and his wife were looking for a wagon to do some long-distance traveling in when a friend turned them on to this 1962 Chevy Impala.
A friend of mine's in the old car business, and he knew I was looking for a wagon. He run across this. I'm the third owner of the car. It had 119,000 miles on it when I got it, and just decided to take it instead of a wagon. We was looking for trunk space, what we was looking for. Drive it everywhere. We drive it to Daytona, down to Fort Lauderdale, up here, over to the beach, Myrtle Beach, to run to the sun, and just go everywhere in the car. Rides like a Cadillac. Rides like a Cadillac. I've done pretty much all the work. The only thing I haven't done is the paint on the car. I learned how to buff a car out on this one here, but I put new motor in, overdrive transmission. We put new brakes, new brake lines. I put fuel injection throttle body on it just about 6 months ago.
25 years ago, John David Davis chose to stay old school with a 1929 Ford pickup after he decided never to own another computerized car.
I needed a car and a truck. A man should have a car and a truck. And everything I own has been hauled in this truck. Plus motors, transmission, anything that be hauled has been hauled in this truck. It was 25 years ago, and I had got a brand new Ford. I shouldn't have said that. The brand new Ford, and it was an issue. And I made a decision I'll never own another vehicle with a computer. So I bought this truck and a 35 Ford car, and these are the only cars I own. And every day of the year, one of them is being drove. Well, it's got a 350 roller motor. It's about 375 horse, 700R transmission, Posey front end, chassis engineering rear end. It's not fast, but it's extremely quick. It'll get away from you in a hurry. Might be old, but I still like them whole shots.
You know, we've heard a lot of people say they restore cars for a lot of different reasons. Nicole Hodge restored this 1949 Ford F1 to remind her of the memories of her grandparents.
In all of the pictures of my grandparents, it is a 1953 Ford F100, and so I asked my other half to find me one. And that was proved to be rather difficult. And so he said, well, can you compromise? I said, okay. Yeah, it's close. It's not quite the perfect, replica of what my grandfather was driving around. My dad learned to drive in that truck. And it's not perfect, but it looks pretty close. And it just reminds me every time I'm driving it, it reminds me of him, so. I probably had it for a couple months now. Only about 4 months, if that. We got it just this year. We've done a lot of work to it already. It had a lot of work done to it already. It already had a power steering, AC, heat and air. The radio was already in it. It already had a 351 Windsor motor inside of it. And we took it, the power steering wasn't installed correctly, so we did all new power steering, new column, fixed the AC unit. We put a fuel injection, Edelbrock fuel injection kit in it. Updated the heads, put street rod, Edelbrock streets on there. I cruise. I drive this every day. That's all I want to do. That's why I got it. I'm actually not into vintage cars that sit in the garage. I like to drive them, so it goes with me every single day to the shop.
J.D. Mize has rebuilt this beautiful dragster. His whole family enjoys quality time together on the drag strip.
I've been drag racing really since about 58. Well, it's a great sport. I mean, we get to go. We've been all over the country. I ran at Indy in '67, And I ended up in the last 4 cars. In C Dragster, we had another Dragster with a Hemi DeSoto in it, 300 cubic inch. And, you know, and we got into it and we just kept going for drag racing, you know. One of the biggest challenges was the front brakes. See, I had the original, it's got the original angle front end under it, and I found some Volkswagen wheel cylinders, and I modified and used the original hubs, wheels, everything, and had the brake linings and had them relined, and that's how I got hydraulic brakes on the front of it. I was running rear brakes on it, and I couldn't get stopped in most places, see. And I drove a Dragster, so it got you can see the handbrake through the windshield, and that was when I was running rear brakes. I couldn't have no line lock or anything on it, so I just put me a handbrake in there, and I could hold it on the starting line. I stage it with my hand, and then I could stop.
We'll be right back with more amazing cars on the Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group. The Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group, is brought to you by Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener, Brothers Truck Parts, your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GM truck restoration. Original Parts Group, world-class restoration parts, Lokar performance products, quality, plain and simple. Our next owner usually builds his own cars, but said he had to build 2 cars and then sell them so he could buy this pre-war 1937 Chevrolet Business Coupe.
It was just, it just struck me as a good-looking car. It's small. It's, I like the pre-war stuff. There's so much of the, you know, the 50s stuff running around, and get tired of looking at that. So I think some of the pre-war older cars are, especially when they're fixed up like this one is, are a lot more enjoyable and more fun. It's got a 350 Chevy in it that's with the cam. It's pretty well souped up. It's full leather interior, automatic 350 Chevy transmission. It runs good and fast. It has a 6-pack, 3 deuces on it. We just go around from one car show to the other with them and just have fun. Just make road trips and do whatever comes along that brings a crowd of people. That's what we do it for. That and the enjoyment of it.
We want you to take a look at this 1933 Plymouth PD. This short wheelbase is powered by a 350 Chevy engine that's carbureted. David Poswick and his friends are racking up the miles in this baby.
Well, where I was working at, the fellow that I was working with on the machine, he introduced me to street riding. So one year I was on vacation down in Kentucky, Mammoth Caves. He said he was going to be down in Louisville at a street ride meet. So I found him at the fairgrounds, and that's how he introduced me to street riding. And then I used to go with him down there to Louisville. And the one year I seen a 1933 Plymouth there for sale. I didn't see the guy the rest of the time I was there, but I said the next year when I went, if I find him, I'm going to buy it. He located the car, and here it is, I bought it. He had a Corvair front end on it. I went and purchased a Fat Man front end, put on disc brakes. I have a 700R overdrive transmission, and the 350 motor's been rebuilt, bored out. Got somewhat of a large cam. It's kind of a little bit of a gas guzzler compared to today's cars. I ripped all the other interior out. I bought some bucket seats from a Honda Civic. Found a Amish fella that was doing interior work. He did the interior for me for a relatively cheap price. Yes, we're gonna head out out west and try to go down Route 66 and see what we could see for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Every Lokar product is proudly made in America. Lokar is always eager to open up their doors and show off their state-of-the-art facility. We're glad to be here at this year's Lokar Open House.
We've been doing this open house for about 16 years. We took a little hiatus for a few years when our old shop was getting a little tight. The neighbors were filling in, couldn't have as many people out, and it was getting real big. But we're back. This is the second year since we've started back, and it's getting bigger already. We love having everybody out. We try to give back to everybody, give them some free food, some entertainment, have them come out and enjoy seeing the cars before the show. Guys got to get here and get registered, and give them something to do while they're waiting for the show. And our employees put out a lot of effort. They get the shop cleaned up. They keep it cleaned up while everybody's here. And we like to have everybody out for a good time.
It's time for Lokar LowDown with Kevin Ford.
Lokar's got a long-standing reputation for making quality throttle cables and kickdowns. We make spring return kits and everything to go along with that. What you might not be aware of is the variety of applications that we have available. We work with all the big companies and the small ones to come up with any kind of linkage that needs to be made to connect A to B. So if you got a gas pedal and a carburetor, we're going to get you connected so that you can get on the road and working. We go anywhere from race cars to street rods, muscle cars and trucks. We offer all kinds of options from black braided stainless, regular braided stainless. We have a black universal cable if you want a little more subdued look. All the bracketry is available in a polished type finish or a black finish, just like the spring return cable kit I have here. On the race car and 4150 style plates, you get a full aluminum bracket that goes under your carburetor. It gives you a little more of a race car look. It's sturdy and it works well. If you've got tune ports, LS1s, Pro Flows, we've got it. We'll get you covered. If you want to put your hands on these, come see us at a show. You can go on to lokar.com to see where we're going to be and pick up a free catalog while you're there.
Welcome back to the Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group. Jim Gambas told us he chose this 1954 Chevrolet from his collection to bring to the Lokar Open House because rain was in the forecast, and he knew this Chevy is big enough to haul all his friends to the show today.
Well, I've owned the car for about 28 years now. When I bought it, it was somewhat of an amateur restoration. It was about falling apart, and I was able to drive it home, but I've gone through the car completely. I put another frame under it. It's got a small block in it and a Chevy Nova front suspension, Nova rear. It's 350 with a 200R automatic transmission. But I've done all the work on it myself. It's strictly a hobby, but I've been doing it forever. My first hot rod I had when I was 14 years old, and I'm 72 now, and there really hasn't been any breaks in between. Most times I've owned 2 or 3 at a time. Right now I think I have 6 cars, and 3 of them are drivable, and the other 3 are projects.
Garage time is a wonderful hobby. Just ask Milton Means, who built this 1929 Model A with his high school buddy.
Well, it's a Model A Ford. It's got a TCI frame chassis underneath it. It's got a 289 Ford engine in it, automatic overdrive transmission, Jaguar rear end, has air conditioning, power windows, cruise control. It had a 327 Chevy sitting under the hood whenever I got it, but it didn't come home with that in it. Told the guy I won't bring it home with the Chevrolet motor in it. I get run out of town.
Original Parts Group Restoration Tip.
What's the first thing you notice when you pull into a car show and you see all these beautifully restored show cars? The front end and grille, of course. Today from Original Parts Group, we have this beautiful 1970 Chevelle and El Camino grille kit. Manufactured exclusively for OPGI, they feature the correct bright aluminum trim, headlight bezels, and center grille kit. You will also notice on the Chevelle behind me that the center bar and sides have been painted body color just like the factory, which you will need to do. Now, if you didn't want to buy the entire kit, you can also buy all of these pieces separately. You can find this kit, all these pieces, and thousands of other parts at opgi.com.
We'll be right back with more amazing cars on the Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group. The Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group, has been brought to you by National Parts Depot. Make your dream happen. Appalachian Tourism. Virginia is for lovers. Croftgate USA, the only car care product you will ever need. Advertising Edge, the official uniform of the NHRA. Wade Davis bought this 1937 Packard Convertible in 1969. He waited until his retirement to restore the car just the way he wanted to.
Life seems to get in the way sometimes of our hobbies, and then the kids come along, and then eventually I started on another car. I did a 41 Chevrolet, and so this just kind of took a back seat. I really wanted to have time to do it right and to have the finances to do it right, so it finally just got pushed aside until I retired and said I'll do it when I retire. It has a Chevrolet crate motor, a ramjet fuel injection engine. I actually started on the car in 2000, and we took it down to Fat Man Fabricators in Charlotte, and Fat Man set up the front suspension, put his clip in it, and motor mounts and transmission mounts for a small block Chevrolet. Originally I was thinking about putting a tune port in it, and then Chevrolet came out with this ramjet engine and decided to go that way.
This restoration was the brainstorm of Larry Hammond, who said he always wanted to extend the cab of a GMC truck. Nice stretch, Larry.
I found this body in Wisconsin, a stock GMC truck, and after 18 years, this is the finished product. It's been on the road 10 years. It's got 16,000 miles on it. It's 350, Camaro subframe, Camaro 10-bolt rear end, disc brakes all the way around, power steering, power brakes, cruise control, air conditioning. I'm a retired machinist. I did some of the pre-metal and extension of the frame and stuff like that, but I am not a painter. I had it finished and painted and electrical work done, and the upholstery. Little trailer is from Bebop's, which is out of Tennessee. It's all fiberglass. I had it behind a 36-gram two-door sedan for 18 years. I probably had the trailer probably 28 years. But it goes with us, it carries the luggage. We don't have to put anything in the bed then.
Each week, Croftgate USA Car Care Products picks the best of show from the Lokar Car Show. This week's award goes to Mark Berlin and this beautiful 1936 Ford Roadster.
I had another street rod. It was a 27 Chevy sedan, and we were taking it to Meekum to the auction to sell it. And we saw this car in the magazine, Street Scene magazine. Thought we'd like to have it. It was out in California. So we ended up selling the other car. And I got a hold of this guy, and we emailed pictures back and forth a few times and decided I wanted it. And it was just a pile of parts, so it was kind of bought sight unseen. I had it shipped to my house, and that was in #07. And I just started from the frame up, frame sandblasted, powder coated. A friend of mine's got a restoration shop, guy I've known all my life, Johnny from John's Auto Body. He did the paint on it. I did all the assembly, built motor, transmission, wired the whole car. Took 4 years, finished it in 2012, and been enjoying it ever since. No, it's a hobby. Yeah. Just like doing it. Me and my wife likes going to car shows and local ones and weekend shows and shows like this. We just like it. Something we like to do. Yeah, it's just a different world with the top off. We don't take the top off too awful much, but we do every now and then, take for a little ride, but it's a different world. It's a Ramjet 350, 700 Ford transmission, 9-inch Ford rear end. Runs really good, smooth. Got AC, power windows, power hood, power trunk. Pretty much everything you need. We originally had a color picked out. We were looking for some kind of a bright burnt orange, and we hem-hawed around for about 4 years until it got time for paint, and we finally decided this is the color we wanted. And it's a deep mango effect is what the color is. And we just really like it. In the sun, it really flip-flops. It almost looks like a tri-coat, but just a base coat, clear coat paint, but real happy with it.
That does it for the Lokar Open House. The rain held off long enough for this year's show to be a huge success. We were treated to some wonderful cars and everyone had a whole lot of fun. Join us on the Lokar Car Show next week as we head back to Destin, Florida for Burning Up the Beaches.